Dr. Chris Wade worked frantically in the science lab aboard the Endeavour. Around him, broken pieces of devourer technology lay scattered on metal tables. He had been studying the machines for 3 days, trying to find a weakness that could save everyone. The battle was not going well. Even with human help, the Zalani were still losing. The Devourers kept coming, and more human ships were destroyed every hour. They needed to find a way to stop the machines, or Zalani Prime would fall. "Dr. Wade, have you found anything?" asked Dr. Lisara, a Zalani scientist who had been working with him. She looked like a tall human with blue skin and large silver eyes. Her people were much like humans, but they had evolved on a world with different gravity. Chris looked up from his microscope. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but he was excited. "Lisara, I think I found something. These machines are not just individual units. They're all connected somehow, like a giant computer network." Dr. Lisara moved closer to look at his data. "How are they connected? We see no cables or radio signals between them." "Quantum entanglement," Chris said. "They're using quantum physics to share information instantly across vast distances. It's incredibly advanced technology." Lisara's eyes grew wide. "If they are all connected, then maybe we can attack them all at once through the connection." Chris nodded. "Exactly. But we need to find the right frequency to disrupt their quantum network. It would be like finding one specific radio station among millions." They worked together, combining human knowledge with Zalani science. Lisara understood quantum physics in ways that humans had not yet discovered. Chris knew about electronic warfare techniques that the Zalani had never tried. Meanwhile, on the surface of Zalani Prime, human medic Maria Santos was working in a field hospital near the capital city. The building shook as explosions went off in the sky above. Pieces of destroyed ships fell like metal rain. Maria worked on a wounded Zalani soldier. His arm was badly burned, but she had saved his life. Next to him lay a human pilot who had been shot down. Maria treated them both the same way because pain was the same for everyone. "Thank you," the Zalani soldier said in broken English. "You saved my life." Maria smiled and patted his good arm. "We're here to help each other. That's what friends do." A young Zalani girl, maybe 10 years old, brought Maria a cup of water. The girl's family had been taking care of wounded humans who had crashed near their home. "My parents say you came from very far away to help us," the girl said. "Is that true?" "Yes," Maria said. "We came from a planet called Earth. It's very far from here." "Why did you come?" "We are not your people." Maria thought about how to explain it in simple words. "Because when someone is hurt and asks for help, good people always try to help. It doesn't matter if they are strangers." The girl smiled and ran back to help her parents. In space, the battle was reaching a critical point. The largest devourer construct was moving toward Zalani Prime's surface. If it reached the planet, it would crack the crust and kill everyone on the world. Captain Todd Baker commanded the heavy cruiser Liberty. His ship had been badly damaged in the fighting, but it could still fly. When he heard Dr. Wade's plan over the radio, he knew what he had to do. "Dr. Wade, how close do we need to get to the Devourer command ship to broadcast your frequency?" Todd asked. "Very close," Chris replied. "Maybe a few hundred meters. But, Captain, any ship that gets that close will be destroyed." Todd looked around his bridge. His crew was listening to every word. They all knew this was a suicide mission. "Crew of the Liberty, this is your captain," Todd said over the ship's intercom. "We have a chance to save Zalani Prime, but it means we won't be going home. Anyone who wants to leave can take an escape pod now." Nobody moved. His weapons officer, Lieutenant Mark Johnson, spoke for everyone. "Captain, we didn't come this far to run away now. Let's finish this." Commander Sandra Hayes was leading the technical team that would broadcast the disruptive frequency. She was one of the best electronic warfare specialists in the human fleet. "All ships, this is Hayes," she said over the fleet communication system. "We need every human and Zalani ship to form a precise formation. Everyone must broadcast the frequency at exactly the same time, or this won't work." The plan was incredibly difficult. Every ship had to be in exactly the right position and broadcast. Exactly the right signal at exactly the right moment. Even one ship being slightly off could ruin everything. Captain Lucas White coordinated the formation from the Endeavor. Zalani ships move to positions Alpha through Delta. Human vessels take positions Echo through Zulu. Remember, if this doesn't work, we're all dead anyway. On Zalani Prime, pilot Jordan Pierce had been shot down behind enemy lines 3 days ago. He had been hiding in the ruins of a Zalani city, trying to stay alive. Small devourer machines were hunting for him, scanning the rubble with red laser beams. Jordan was hurt and running out of food when he heard voices. A family of Zalani civilians had found him. The father, an old man with white hair, was carrying medical supplies. "Human pilot, we help you," the old man said. "My son was pilot too. Died fighting the machines." They took Jordan to a hidden basement where other Zalani families were hiding. The mother, a woman with kind eyes, treated his wounds. Their teenage daughter shared her food with him. "Why are you helping me?" Jordan asked. "It's dangerous. If the machines find me here, they'll kill you too." The old man smiled sadly. "Your people came across the stars to save us. The least we can do is save one of you." Above them, the final phase of the battle was beginning. The Liberty was flying straight toward the largest Devourer construct. Enemy. Weapons fired at the damaged cruiser, but Todd's crew kept the ship moving forward. "Distance to target, 5,000 meters, reported the navigation officer. "Sandra, are you ready with the frequency?" Todd asked. "Ready, Captain. All ships are in position." 4,000 meters, the navigator said. The ship shook as enemy. Fire hit the hull. Dr. Wade and Dr. Lisara watched from the Endeavor as their plan was about to be tested. All their calculations said it would work, but they had never tried anything like this before. 3,000 meters, came the report. From the Liberty, Captain Lucas White spoke to the entire fleet. "All ships prepare to broadcast on my mark. Remember, this is for 8 billion innocent people who just want to live." 2,000 meters. "Hull breach on Deck 7, the Liberty's navigator reported. The ship was falling apart, but it kept flying. 1,000 meters. Todd Baker took a deep breath. Around him, his crew sat ready at their stations. They were about to die, but they were proud to do it for such a good cause. 500 meters. "Captain, we're in range." Todd smiled. "Sandra, Lucas, all ships. Do it now. Every human and Zalani ship in the system began broadcasting the disruptive frequency at the same moment. The Liberty fired its reactor engines at maximum power, sending the signal directly into the Devourer command ship. The effect was immediate and incredible. Lights began going out across every Devourer construct in the system. The ancient machines that had operated for thousands of years suddenly stopped working. The Liberty exploded in a ball of light, taking Todd Baker and his brave crew with it. But their sacrifice had worked. The Devourers were dead, floating powerless in space. For the first time in decades, the Zalani system was safe. Admiral Patricia Stone stood in the center of Earth's Global Command Center. The room was filled with screens showing ships from all over the solar system. It had been 72 hours since the alien distress call was received, and humanity was moving faster than ever before. The Admiral looked tired. She had not slept much since Commander Harrison's call from Luna Base. The leaders of Earth had met for 18 straight hours before making their decision. They would answer the Zilani distress call, even though it might mean sending thousands of people to their deaths. "Admiral, the cargo ship New Horizon is changing course," reported Lieutenant Danny Walsh from his station. "Captain Ben Carter says he can reach Earth in 6 days." Admiral Stone nodded. Ben Carter was one of the best cargo ship captains in the fleet. His ship was supposed to be mining asteroids near Jupiter, but he had abandoned the mission as soon as he heard about the Zilani. Like many others, he wanted to help. The response from Earth's people had been amazing. Every military ship was coming home. Civilian captains were volunteering their vessels for the mission. Even small passenger ships were offering to join the rescue fleet. Captain Lucas White walked into the command center. He was tall and thin, with brown hair and serious green eyes. At 38 years old, he was the youngest person ever to command Earth's newest warship, the Endeavor. He would be leading the rescue fleet to the Zilani system. "Admiral, the Endeavor is ready for departure," Lucas reported. "We've loaded extra weapons and supplies. The crew is eager to go." "Good," Admiral Stone said. "How many ships do we have confirmed for the mission?" Lucas checked his tablet. 12 military vessels, 38 civilian ships that we're adding weapons to, and 42 volunteer transport ships. Total crew count is just over 40,000 people. Admiral Stone felt a mix of pride and worry. 40,000 humans were willing to travel across the galaxy to help strangers, but many of them would not come home. On Mars, engineer Sophie Wright was working without sleep to prepare the civilian ships for war. The shipyards of Mars had never been busier. Workers were installing weapons, shields, and armor on ships that were never meant to fight. Sophie looked at the cargo hauler in front of her. It was owned by a family from Europa who used it to transport supplies between the outer colonies. Now it was being fitted with plasma cannons and missile launchers. "Will this thing even hold together in a fight?" asked her assistant, Tony Garza. "It has to," Sophie said, wiping sweat from her face. "These people are counting on us to give them something that can protect the Zilani." The work continued day and night. Welders, engineers, and technicians from across the solar system had come to help. The shipyards of Europa and Titan were also working at full speed. Humanity had never worked together like this before. Dr. Amanda Foster was on her research ship Starbound when she received the call to join the rescue mission. She had been studying a strange nebula near Alpha Centauri, work that had taken her 3 years to plan. Without hesitation, she ordered her ship to turn around and head for Earth. "Dr. Foster, are you sure about this?" asked her research partner, Dr. Kevin Ross. "We're giving up years of research." Amanda looked at the stars through the ship's window. "Kevin, we might be the only hope those people have. Our research can wait. Their lives cannot." Dr. Kevin Ross understood. He began working on new ideas for how the rescue fleet could travel faster. The journey to the Zilani system normally took 4 months, but the aliens might not have that much time. "What if we try formation flying?" Kevin suggested. "Smaller ships could draft behind larger ones like race cars. It would save fuel and let us push the engines harder." Amanda smiled. "Do it. Contact the other ships and start planning the formations." Captain Ryan Martinez commanded a patrol ship called the Guardian. It was small but fast, designed to chase pirates and smugglers. When he heard about the Zilani, he immediately volunteered for the mission. "Sir, My wife thinks I'm crazy for doing this, said his co-pilot, Lieutenant Sarah Kim. Ryan looked at the photo of his family on his desk. His wife and 2 young children were back on Earth. He might never see them again, but he knew he was doing the right thing. Sarah, imagine if Earth was being attacked and we sent out a distress call. Wouldn't you want someone out there to hear it and come help us? Sarah nodded. Yes, sir, I would. Then we're doing what we hope someone else would do for us. The civilian volunteers were just as determined as the military crews. Captain Elena Santos owned a passenger ship that usually carried tourists between Earth and Mars. She had never been in a fight, but she was ready to learn. Captain Santos, are you sure you want to do this? Asked Admiral Stone during a video call. Your ship isn't built for combat. Elena looked around at her crew, who were all nodding in agreement. Admiral, my grandfather used to tell me stories about the old days on Earth, when people would risk their lives to save strangers. He said that's what made us human. I think he was right. As the ships gathered near Earth, something remarkable happened. Crews began sharing resources freely between vessels. Military ships gave extra weapons to civilian ships. Cargo haulers shared their heavy armor with passenger ships. Transport ships offered to carry extra supplies for the warships. Dr. Lisa Martinez was working on the Luna base to improve communication with the Zalani. She had been translating more of their messages and learning about their culture. Commander, Harrison, I've learned something important, Lisa said. The Zalani have never heard of any species helping another species they didn't know. In their history, when civilizations get distress calls, they ignore them. Commander Jake Harrison was shocked. You mean no one has ever tried to help strangers before? Not according to the Zalani records. Every species in the galaxy looks out only for themselves. They think we're crazy for coming to help them. Jake smiled. Maybe we are crazy, but it's the good kind of crazy. The rescue fleet was ready to launch 1 week after the distress call was received. Captain Lucas White stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, looking at the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. 92 ships of all sizes were ready to make the journey to the Zalani system. Admiral Stone, the fleet is ready for departure, Lucas reported. Admiral Stone appeared on the main screen. Behind her, Jake could see the flags of every nation on Earth. For the first time in history, all of humanity was united in a single cause. Captain White, you carry with you the hopes and prayers of 8 billion humans. Bring our new friends home safely. Yes, ma'am. We will not let them down. The fleet began moving away from Earth. As they reached the edge of the solar system, Dr. Kevin Ross's formation flying plan went into effect. Smaller ships tucked in behind larger ones, and the entire fleet moved as one unit through space. The journey to the Zalani system had begun. 40,000 humans were racing across the galaxy to save 8 billion aliens they had never met. It was the most human thing anyone had ever done. The human rescue fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Zalani star system. What they saw made every person on every ship stop and stare in horror. Captain Lucas White stood on the bridge of the Endeavor looking at the destruction before them. 7 of the 9 planets in the system were gone. Not destroyed, but completely stripped bare. Where once there had been worlds with mountains, oceans, and cities, now there were only dead rocks floating in space. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Sarah Kim. "What happened here?" Massive mechanical structures the size of small moons drifted between the planets. They looked like giant metal spiders with thousands of arms reaching out in all directions. These were the Devourers, and they were slowly tearing apart everything in the system. "Captain, I'm picking up signals from the remaining Zalani ships," reported Communications Officer Tony Garza. "They're fighting near the 7th planet." Lucas looked at his scanner. Only 18 Zalani ships were left from their original fleet of 500. They were desperately trying to protect their homeworld, Zalani Prime, from 3 massive devourer constructs. "Send a message to the Zalani ships," Lucas ordered. "Tell them help has arrived." The response came quickly. A new voice spoke over the radio, translated by the communication computers. The voice sounded tired and hopeless. "Unknown ships, this is Commander Vextar of the Zalani Defense Force. You must leave this system immediately. The Devourers will destroy you." Captain Nicole Adams, commanding the cruiser Liberty, answered first. "Commander Vexitar, we are humans from Earth. We received your distress call and have come to help you." There was a long silence. When Vexitar spoke again, his voice was full of disbelief. "You came here to help us? But we are strangers to you. Your world is many light years away. Why would you risk your lives for people you have never met?" Lucas took over the conversation. "Because it's the right thing to do. No one should have to face this alone." Another pause. "In all our recorded history, no species has ever answered a distress call from strangers. We thought you were a myth, a story told to children about heroes who would come from the stars." "We're real," Lucas said, "and we're here to fight." The human fleet moved towards Zalani Prime. As they got closer, they could see the planet's blue and green surface. It looked similar to Earth, with continents, oceans, and white clouds. But massive metal structures were descending toward the surface like deadly fingers. Commander Kyle Johnson led the fighter squadrons from the carrier ship Defender. His small ship moved quickly between the larger vessels, heading straight for the nearest Devourer construct. "All fighters, this is Johnson. These things are big, but they have to have weak spots. Look for power sources and weapon systems." The fighters spread out and began attacking the massive machines. The Devourers responded by sending out smaller mechanical units like metal wasps swarming around the human ships. Captain Rachel Moore commanded the heavy cruiser Titan. Her ship had the biggest guns in the human fleet, and she aimed them at the largest Devourer construct. "Fire all weapons," Rachel ordered. The Titan's plasma cannons and missile launchers fired at once. The beams of energy and explosive warheads struck the Devourer's surface, creating bright flashes of light. But when the light faded, the machine was still there, barely damaged. "These things are tough," Rachel said. "We need a new plan." The Zalani ships moved to join the human fleet. Commander Vexitar's ship, a sleek vessel with curved wings, flew alongside the Endeavor. "Captain White, our weapons cannot harm the Devourer's main bodies," Vexitar explained. "We have been trying for years, but the smaller units can be destroyed." "Then we focus on the small ones first," Lucas decided. "Clear them out so we can get close to the big ones." The battle became a deadly dance in space. Human and Zalani ships worked together, covering each other as they fought the swarms of smaller Devourer machines. The civilian ships, loaded with weapons they barely knew how to use, stayed back and provided support fire. Lieutenant Danny Clark was flying his fighter through a cloud of enemy machines when his ship was hit. Sparks flew from his control panel, and warning lights flashed red. "My ship is damaged," Danny reported. "I'm losing power." "Danny, get out of there," Commander Johnson ordered. But Danny looked ahead and saw something important. There was a gap in the Devourer's defenses, a place where their weapons couldn't reach. If someone could get through that gap, they might be able to attack the machine's core systems. "Kyle, I see a way in," Danny said. "But my ship won't make it back out." Johnson understood what Danny was planning. Danny, no. There has to be another way. There isn't time, Danny replied. Tell my family I love them. Danny pushed his damaged fighter through the gap in the Devourer's defenses. Enemy weapons fired at him, but he was too small and too fast to hit. He reached the machine's core and fired all his remaining missiles at once. The explosion was small compared to the size of the Devourer, but it hit exactly the right spot. Chain reactions spread through the machine's systems, and lights began, going out across its surface. He did it, Kyle whispered. Danny actually hurt that thing. The success gave everyone hope, but the cost was terrible. Danny Clark was gone, and the Devourer was only damaged, not destroyed. Marine Sergeant Katie Bell was on one of the transport ships when her captain had a crazy idea. Sergeant, we're going to try to land on one of those machines, Captain Elena, Santos said. Can your Marines plant explosives inside it? Katie looked at her squad of 20 Marines. They were scared but ready to fight. Yes, ma'am, we can do it. The transport ship flew close to a damaged Devourer construct. The machine's surface was covered with holes and gaps where weapons had hit it. Katie and her Marines put on spacesuits and jumped across the gap between the ships. They crawled through the machine's metal corridors, placing explosive charges on important-looking systems. The inside of the Devourer was like a nightmare maze of wires, pipes, and mechanical parts. This place gives me the creeps, said Private Mike Torres. Just keep moving, Katie ordered. We need to get to the central power core. They found the core deep inside the machine. It was a huge sphere of energy, surrounded by computer systems. Katie and her team placed all their remaining explosives around it. Everyone out, Katie shouted. This thing is going to blow. The Marines ran through the corridors as fast as they could. Behind them, the explosions began. They barely made it back to their ship before the entire section of the Devourer went dark. The battle raged for 6 days. Humans and Zalani fought side by side, learning each other's tactics and sharing their weapons. The human ships used strategies the Devourers had never seen before. Instead of trying to win, they focused on buying time and protecting the innocent. Captain, Ben Carter rammed his cargo ship New Horizon into a Devourer that was heading for Zalani Prime's surface. The impact didn't destroy the machine, but it knocked it off course, saving millions of lives below. Dr. Amanda Foster used her research ship to rescue damaged Zalani vessels, pulling their crews to safety before their ships exploded. The civilian. Volunteers proved that courage was not limited to soldiers. Ordinary people like Elena Santos, who had never fired a weapon before, fought as hard as any Marine. By the end of the 6th day, the human fleet had lost more than half their ships. But something amazing had happened. The Zalani, who had been ready to give up, were fighting with new strength. They had learned that they were not alone in the universe. Commander Vextar sent a message to all the human ships. People of Earth, in 6 days you have shown us something we thought was impossible. You have proven that strangers can become family, that distance means nothing when someone needs help. We will never forget what you have done for us. The battle was not over, but something had changed. The galaxy would never be the same again. Commander Jake Harrison floated near the large window of the space station, looking out at the stars. The coffee in his cup was cold, but he did not care. Night shift on Luna Base was always quiet. Most of the crew was sleeping, and the monitoring computers did their work without making much noise. Jake had been running the Deep Space Monitoring Station Alpha 7 for 3 years now. Every day was the same. The big radio dishes pointed at different parts of space, listening for signals from other worlds. So far, they had found nothing but empty static and the sounds of dying stars. The moon's surface stretched out below the station. Earth hung in the black sky like a blue marble. Jake often wondered if humans were alone in the universe. The scientists said there had to be other life out there, but after 50 years of listening, they had never heard anything. A soft beep came from the control room. Jake pushed himself away from the window and floated through the corridor. The station spun slowly to create fake gravity, but Jake preferred to move in zero gravity when he could. Dr. Lisa Martinez was already at her desk when Jake arrived. She was the best language expert they had, and she knew more about alien communication than anyone else on Earth. Her dark hair was tied back, and her brown eyes were wide with excitement as she stared at her computer screen. "Commander, you need to see this," Lisa said without looking up. Her fingers moved quickly over the keyboard. "We picked up something about 20 minutes ago. It's not natural." Jake pulled himself to the chair next to her and looked at the screen. Lines of green text scrolled down, showing different radio frequencies and signal strengths. One frequency was much stronger than the others, and it was pulsing in a clear pattern. "What am I looking at?" Jake asked. "A signal from outside our solar system," Lisa said. "It's coming from a star system about 40 light-years away. The signal is using mathematical patterns, prime numbers, basic physics. Someone is trying to talk to us." Jake felt his heart start beating faster. This was what they had been waiting for. This was first contact with alien life. Captain Ryan Cole came running into the room. He was young for a captain, only 32, but he was smart and good under pressure. His uniform was wrinkled like he had been sleeping. "I heard the alert," Ryan said. "Is it real?" "It's real," Lisa said. She turned to face both men. "But there's something else. I've been working on translating parts of the message. It's not a greeting. It's a distress call." The room went silent except for the humming of computers. Jake looked at the screen again, trying to understand what he was seeing. "Show me," Jake said. Lisa brought up a new window on her computer. "The signal repeats every 15 minutes. Each time it gets a little weaker, like their power is running out. I've translated about 30% of it so far," she pressed. A button and a computer voice began to speak. The words were slow and mechanical, but they were clear enough to understand. "To any who can hear this message, we are the Zilani of the third world of our star. We send this call to any people among the stars who might help us. Our worlds are being attacked by machines we call the Devourers. They eat planets and all life on them. We have fought for many years, but we are losing." The message continued. "Our home world has 8 billion people. Our defenses are almost gone. The machines will reach us in less than 100 of your Earth days. If anyone receives this message, please help us. We do not want to die." The computer voice stopped. Jake, Lisa, and Ryan sat in silence, trying to process what they had just heard. 8 billion people, Ryan whispered. "That's more than Earth's population. And they're all going to die if nobody helps them," Lisa added. Jake stood up and walked to the window again. 40 light-years away, an entire civilization was being destroyed by machines. They had sent out this desperate message hoping someone would hear it and come to help. "How long would it take to get there?" Jake asked. Ryan did quick math in his head. "With our fastest ships, about 4 months. But, Commander, we don't have any ships that can fight these Devourer things. We barely have enough ships to protect our own system." "That doesn't matter," Jake said. "We have to try." Lisa looked up from her computer. "Commander, I'm getting more of the translation now. The Zilani are describing the Devourers. They're Not alive. They're machines built by some dead civilization. They've been moving through space for thousands of years, eating everything they find. How many Zalani ships are left? Jake asked. Lisa worked on her computer for a few minutes. According to this, they started with over 500 warships. Now they have less than 20. Jake thought about Earth's space fleet. They had 12 military ships designed for fighting, and maybe 40 civilian ships that could be armed with weapons. It was not much, but it was something. Ryan, send a message to Earth Command, Jake ordered. Tell them we need Admiral Stone on the line right now. Priority Alpha. Sir, it's 3 in the morning on Earth, Ryan said. I don't care what time it is. We just received a distress call from another species. That makes this the most important day in human history. Ryan nodded and went to the communication station. Within 10 minutes, Admiral Patricia Stone's face appeared on the main screen. She was 60 years old with gray hair and sharp blue eyes. She had commanded Earth's space forces for 15 years and was known for making hard decisions quickly. Commander, Harrison, the Admiral said. I hear you have something important for me. Admiral, we've received a distress call from an alien species 40 light-years away. They're under attack by hostile machines called Devourers. Their entire civilization is about to be wiped out. Jake explained everything they had learned. He played the translated message for the Admiral and showed her the signal data. Admiral Stone listened without saying anything. When Jake finished, Admiral Stone was quiet for a long moment. Commander, are you absolutely certain this signal is real? She asked. Yes, Admiral. Dr. Martinez has verified it from every angle. This is genuine alien communication. Admiral Stone nodded slowly. Then God help us all, because we're about to make a decision that will change everything. The Admiral's image disappeared from the screen. Jake knew she was calling an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders. In a few hours, they would decide whether humanity would answer the call for help. Jake looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, 8 billion people were waiting to die. They had sent their message into the dark, hoping someone would care enough to help them. For the first time in his life, Jake truly understood what it meant to be human. It meant hearing a cry for help and knowing you had to answer, even if it meant risking everything. 5 years had passed since the Alliance revealed itself to the galaxy. The old Galactic Council was now just a memory, controlling only a handful of worlds that refused to accept change. The rest of the galaxy had embraced the Alliance and the promise of a better future. President Marcus Thompson stood at the window of his office on Unity Station and watched ships from 100 different species dock at the massive spaceport. Marcus was 63 years old now, and his hair had turned gray from the stress of leading humanity through the greatest transformation in galactic history. The transformation had not been easy. Many former Council worlds struggled to adapt to the Alliance way of life. Species that had lived under rigid control for centuries found it difficult to make their own decisions. But gradually, with patience and help from Alliance advisors, these worlds began to flourish in ways they never had under Council rule. Admiral Rachel Young commanded the Alliance exploration fleets that pushed beyond the edges of known space. Rachel's ships had discovered 17 new galaxies in the past 5 years, each one filled with wonders that the old Council could never have imagined. We found something incredible in the Andromeda system, Rachel reported during her monthly briefing with Alliance leadership. An ancient civilization that built cities inside stars. They've been waiting for someone advanced enough to contact them for over 1 million years. The Star Builders were just one of dozens of incredible discoveries made by Alliance exploration teams. In the Magellanic Clouds, They found species that existed as pure thought. In the spiral arms of distant galaxies, they discovered beings that could create new universes at will. Each discovery reinforced the wisdom of the Alliance approach. Diversity led to innovation, cooperation led to strength, and openness led to wonders that no single species could achieve alone. Dr. Benjamin Scott worked with a research team that included scientists from 47 different species. Their laboratory on Science Station Alpha was solving problems that had puzzled galactic civilization for thousands of years. "We've finally cracked the energy crisis," Benjamin announced during a live broadcast to the entire galaxy. "By combining ethereal dimensional technology with hegemony matter conversion and human engineering, we've created power systems that can generate unlimited clean energy." The breakthrough was typical of Alliance achievements. No single species could have solved the problem alone, but by working together and sharing their knowledge, they had accomplished the impossible. On the former Council capital of Nexus Prime, now renamed Liberty Prime, Ambassador Julia Martinez worked to help former Council species adapt to their new freedom. Julia's job was not easy, as many aliens had spent their entire lives following orders and found it difficult to think for themselves. "Change takes time," Julia explained to a group of young Zephyrians who were struggling to understand Alliance concepts. "Your people spent 1,000 years being told what to think and how to live. Learning to make your own choices is like learning to walk again." But the young aliens were eager to embrace their new freedom. They formed study groups to learn about Alliance history and philosophy. They created art that expressed ideas that would have been forbidden under Council rule. They asked questions that their parents had been afraid to even think. The transformation was happening across the galaxy. Former Council worlds that had been identical copies of each other began to develop their own unique cultures. Species that had been forced to suppress their natural abilities began to explore what they could really accomplish. Captain Daniel Roberts stood on the bridge of the starship New Horizon and prepared for the most ambitious mission in Alliance history. Daniel's ship was leading a fleet of vessels beyond the edge of the galaxy itself, into the vast darkness between galaxies where no one had ever traveled before. "All ships report ready, Captain," announced his first officer, Lieutenant Emma Walsh. "The dimensional drive is calibrated and our escorts are in formation." The fleet included ships from over 200 different species, each one contributing their unique abilities to the mission. Ethereal scouts could detect dangers in other dimensions. Hegemony engineers could repair any damage the ships might suffer. Human strategists could adapt to unexpected situations. "Take us beyond the galaxy," Daniel ordered. "Let's see what's waiting for us in the space between stars." As the fleet activated their dimensional drives and slipped into the void between galaxies, Daniel thought about how far humanity had come. 150 years ago, they had been exiled as primitive troublemakers. Now they were leading the most advanced civilization in galactic history on a journey to explore the infinite cosmos. The Alliance had achieved something that the Council never could have imagined. They had created a government that celebrated differences instead of trying to eliminate them. They had built an economy based on cooperation rather than competition. They had developed technologies that seemed like magic to the old Council. Most importantly, they had proven that diversity was not a weakness to be controlled, but a strength to be celebrated. Every species in the Alliance contributed something unique and valuable. The Ethereals brought knowledge of other dimensions. The hegemony provided military strength and engineering skills. The Starborn offered wisdom about space travel and exploration. The humans brought something equally important but harder to define: They brought curiosity, adaptability, and the stubborn refusal to accept that anything was impossible. These qualities had allowed them to unite species that had never worked together before. Dr. Lisa Carter, now 98 years old, lived quietly on Haven Prime and spent her time writing the official history of the Alliance. Lisa had been there from the beginning, documenting humanity's exile and their eventual rise to leadership of galactic civilization. The Council made one critical mistake, Lisa wrote in her final chapter. They assumed that strength came from conformity and control. They never understood that true strength comes from embracing differences and working together despite them. Lisa's history would be read by billions of beings across hundreds of galaxies. It would teach future generations about the importance of diversity, cooperation, and the courage to imagine something better than what already exists. As captain, Daniel Roberts led his fleet into the space between galaxies. He carried with him the hopes and dreams of countless species. The Alliance had not conquered the galaxy through force or fear. Instead, they had liberated it by showing that there was a better way to live. The journey ahead would bring new challenges and new discoveries. There would be dangers in the darkness, between galaxies, and mysteries that would test even the Alliance's combined knowledge. But Daniel was confident that they would succeed, because they had learned the most important lesson in the universe. No single species, no matter how advanced or powerful, could achieve as much alone as they could accomplish together. The humans had been forgotten and exiled, but they had never forgotten the dream of exploring the stars alongside friends from across the cosmos. That dream had become reality, and now it would carry them to wonders beyond imagination. The galaxy belonged to all its children now, and together they would reach for the infinite possibilities that waited among the stars. The age of the Alliance had begun, and the universe itself was their destination.